hear you and we believe you. Welcome, 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 everybody. How are you doing today? We actually have natural light from outside. Very thrilled. Moni, welcome. Cosmic. I don't know why I don't see you. Sandy, are you here? I see Moni saying hi to you guys. Krista, Melinda, hello. Shannon, thank you. I actually clicked the live a little bit too late, so wait till the next time, and I'll do the intro, or maybe I'll play it as an outro for you guys, just so you can see the whole thing if you haven't. Our very own Misha, Awakened at the Looking Glass, made that all out of AI, guys. Isn't that amazing? Aw, thank you, Kristen. I missed you too. It's been real tough with the migraines around here. The weather keeps changing. And so I was down Sunday, Monday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, I just got back to work yesterday. It's been a trip. So we're gonna keep doing this for about another month or so, and then we should even out. I haven't been in a lot of I do actually have it. And this is going to sound so weird. I actually prefer a bag of frozen peas. It stays colder longer. No, not quite the whole time. I slept a good deal of that. I think I slept most of Monday. I don't really remember Monday. I got up Monday and I thought it was, or got up Tuesday. I thought it was Monday. So that was the only thing with at least the particular brand that I got of the Falcon Hood. I have learned, guys, I have to hydrate with water during these lives, and I have to put lip balm on. Otherwise, my lips get chapped. Slowly, I'm getting this dialed in. Oh, I got to tell you guys. Hey, Todd, how you doing? So glad to see you here. If you guys have not seen some of the work that Todd is doing, oh my goodness, the stuff he is making out of resin, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Todd, I will toot your horn. It is just absolutely beautiful. So the pink and purple dominoes, oh my gosh, forget about it. They're just gorgeous. I did have to say, as I was going to touch my earbuds again, for the first time, look at that. Oh my gosh, I have got widow's peaks. I have got to cover for the first time. I'm covering my scalp to cover up the little bald spots. I thought that was pretty funny on my part, because my mom does not have those. That's my dad thing. So just weird. I will not rant long because I may do a separate video on this, but has anybody else followed the Kent case? Why am I blanking on his first name? Hang on a second. Brian. That's right. Brian. Has anyone been following the Brian Kent? Hey, Cosmic. Lurk away, babe. Lurk away. We'll just be chit-chatting over here. Pop in if you need. I'm just glad you came. I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad all of you guys come. It's just so wonderful. And, I was getting excited about today, just kind of thinking about it, and I was doing my research, and you guys lift me up. You really do. Last week, Thursday, I got right here in my solar plex, I got this ucky feeling that not good stuff was on its way. Until about the middle of June, don't ask me why. I have no clue as to why the timeline is that way. But I'll tell you, crap started happening on Friday, and it really has not let up since. And, combined with the migraines, I really wasn't feeling it. And I thought, I want to continue this channel. I want to give you guys this space, but I wasn't excited about it. And it broke my heart. And then Brian Kent came along. Anik, I'm so glad you're here. So glad you're here. So glad you're here. We have missed you, missed you, missed you. I hope you are doing well. Yes, the lawyer, Christy, the lawyer. There is nothing more that lights a fire under me than lawyers behaving badly. And especially lawyers behaving badly towards their clients, and especially lawyers behaving badly towards their clients who are SA victims. Now you've really got my dander up. I do not take kindly to this. So yes, in a nutshell, Brian Kent was a lawyer with this law firm that represented, I think Aaron Smith Levin was talking about it on his channel, Growing Up in Scientology, but Down the Rabbit Hole actually broke this story, I do believe, either earlier in the day or yesterday. Yes, they are bad lawyers. Well, we'll see. We will see what happens with the other lawyers in the firm. I guarantee you all the other two partners and any of the other partners are scrambling right now. They're like full on, what do we have to do mode, because they could be liable depending on things that he's done. The firm's malpractice insurance is only going to cover certain things. It's not going to cover him, his predatory behavior towards this woman. So he was representing one of Scientology's SA victims, and I don't know where she falls in any other lawsuit. I think it was just them, but he failed to file her lawsuit during the time where basically California put their statute of limitations on hold and said, okay, here's a time period. Doesn't matter when it happened. Go ahead. You can bring it. He didn't file it. And he'd been working with her for a couple of years at least, I think, at that point in time. Never filed it. And he got into a kind of romantic relationship with her. He was also gaslighting her. When you read the things that are alleged, I should say, all of these things are alleged because Mr. Kent has not spoken about this. But I will say Mr. Kent originally said that his leaving from his law firm was a mutual decision and that it was amicable. And the law firm swiftly came out and said, no, it wasn't. Nuh-uh. Don't put us in that boat. It was neither a mutual decision, nor was it amicable. And this is exactly what they said. So they're like, nope. Let's separate it. Just separate it. We're not dealing with this, right? So what happened as far as this lawsuit is one of the other lawyers in the firm found out what he had been doing and that he hadn't been filing the stuff, that the actions that he had been doing with this particular Jane Doe. And I do believe her name is out there somewhere. It's just that everyone's referring to her as Jane Doe right now because privacy reasons, her name doesn't need to be needlessly splashed when Jane Doe works just fine, because this piece of the story is about him and his atrocious conduct. So one of the other lawyers, applaud, said, I don't think that's right. No. Our ethics are up here. Should be anyway, and yours are kind of like down here. So what he did is he filed a complaint with the Pennsylvania bar, because they're in Pennsylvania, and said he's broken his ethic rules. And so they put the rules down and then laid out exactly what he had done over a time period to break his ethical obligations. So right now it's with the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, because that's who's going to handle it. And so they'll have an investigation, and I'm sure they'll call him and ask him for either a written statement or live testimony. It's kind of like a mini trial in terms of the types of evidence that they will take. And I am speaking towards Michigan. I do not know in Pennsylvania if it's any different. I would imagine not a whole heck of a lot, but they will do they should do a thorough investigation. Yeah, there is a lot of speculation that he was paid by Scientology, because from the get-go, it seemed that he was not representing these clients, these Scientology SA clients, with vigor and vim that he should have been. From a plaintiff's lawyer's standpoint. So if he was actively preventing these cases from moving forward on Scientology's behalf, oh my gosh. Can you imagine if he actually talks? Like, if it's true, and I'm not saying it is, because it's totally alleged at this point, right? But if it is true and he talks, wow. So we'll see. We'll see. See what happens with this. It's interesting, to say the least. The plaintiffs have a right to sue him, Mr. Kent, and the law firm at this point in time, because he was one of the named partners. It was Lafe, something, and Kent. So he was right on the building there. Yeah, Todd. It would kind of be the beginning of the end. You would hope, but I mean, who knows? All Scientology has to do is deny it and try and sweep it under the rug, and who knows what would happen. But again, guys, all alleged. Do not know for certain. But this is what one of the other lawyers was saying, not the Scientology part, just about the unethical behavior. So we'll see. We'll see if any plaintiffs come forward, if that particular plaintiff comes forward and files a lawsuit against him and or the law firm. And we'll go from there. But Rabbit's done a pretty darn good job. You heard about it on Rabbit's channel? Yeah, she was doing a follow-up today, and I only caught part of it before I got in with you guys. Conflict of interest. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, if he's getting paid by Scientology and trying to represent a plaintiff in a lawsuit against Scientology, little bit of a conflict of interest. So if I know, Shannon, can you imagine? If any of this discovery, okay, like if Chrissy Baxler's case gets discovery, because she wants discovery. I mean, I talk like that. I talk like she wants her records. She wants OSA records. She wants, she wants things to prove this. I wonder if records would go poof. They're missing. Because what's their other option? Hand them over. Which, I don't know. Could you see them doing that? Hey, Stasia, how you doing? So glad you are here. I was just ranting and raving about Mr. Brian Kent, who seems to be a lawyer, and they piss me off, to be quite honest with you. Anytime lawyers get caught doing bad things, we have a bad enough rap as it is, and to be doing something horrible when there's SA victims involved, just makes my blood boil. Hey, Moni, how you doing? So glad you are with us. You've been catching up on that, CJ? Yeah, I was just doing a little bit before, and I caught Aaron's, and then I caught a little bit from Rabbit, from Rabbits Down the Hole. Kim, welcome. So glad you guys are here. So with that, that's my little rant about Mr. Kent. And we shall see what develops with him and with the law firm. But I literally laughed out loud when I read the law firm's comeback. Hey, Tammy, so glad you're here. Lurk away. Lurk. So as I was going through some, sorry guys, I am just wiggly today. As I was going through some research to do this, last time we spoke about grooming and just kind of basic and mainly geared towards a child. I do want to revisit that though, and really speak in terms of child and really give, concrete examples of what you might see and break it down in regards to what the perpetrator, what the predator's trying to do, and what can you see as an outside person? What can you notice? What would be noticeable to tell your kids about? Hey, watch out for, if you hear of a new person, bought a house on the block and they've got, every toy known to man, let me know. Yeah, just let me know. Of course, it didn't matter if it was in the neighborhood or not. I've always made my son ask where he's going. And I've noticed that it's only recently, and by recently, I mean like in the last month or so, that he's kind of started stopping asking and just going, hey, Mom, I'm going to go too. But it's still this is where I'm going to be. And he knows it's out of a safety precaution. I'm not checking up on him. I don't GPS him. I haven't chipped him. God forbid. It's just being aware of your surroundings and safety. So I want to go back over that specifically so that we can delve a little bit more in depth with the kids. With the adult grooming, I noticed that there's also some love bombing really kind of plays a role in this too. And I think that I can speak probably for a whole nother video about love bombing. So I've actually set that up as a separate video, and I've kind of combined love bombing with predatory dating. And you'll see some of that with the adult grooming. You can see how the context would go in predatory dating. So anyone who's ever online dated really in the last 10 years can actually, actually back me up. That's what you like. I just lost the word and my brain just went bleh. Tammy, one day you may be able to speak about it. Maybe you never are to other people, and that's okay, as long as you know your truth and you've spoken your truth. Again, I was just listening when I was doing the research. I was listening to an ex-model who was giving their story as to what happened when they moved out to Hollywood and started doing, the whole modeling thing, and about all the grooming that goes in regards to the modeling agencies, the photographers, if they want something more from you, they want something different, or the managers or whatever, whoever it is out there, just constantly different people grooming you for whatever they want. And even he said it wasn't until years later that somebody said, wow, so you're a survivor of SA. And it took him aback because he was like, what? And he had to really sit and think about it and say, yes, I am. And he said, even though I knew it and there were these stories in my head and I had talked to other people about similar stories and we'd kind of shared ourselves, I never said I was a victim. I never said I was a survivor. And the moment I said that, it became real. And that's what stuck with me because it does. It does. That label means something. And to the outside world, it can be a stigma. And we know that. And that's why we're talking about it, right? We don't want it to be. And even by the research I was doing, by the different types of videos that I was watching and the different ages of the people who were putting that out, I can see it trickling down in terms of the stigma becoming less, and especially being hard on the men who perpetrate. Now, there's still some work to be done on just double standards with mores and values, but that's a whole nother topic for something else. Shannon, you were love bombed. Well, yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that because this one woman, she was interesting because she was talking about 4 different ways that people love bomb, and it made so much sense versus some of the other ways people tried to explain love bombing. Yeah, it's strange. I did have this experience a couple of times, and I was like, what? Wait, what? You want what? I mean, it's just so out of the blue, so out of just, okay, let's go do this. Let's go do this. Let's go do this. I'm like, um, let's not. And Todd, you're right. You can journal about it if you can't say it out loud. The goal is to be able to say it out loud. And like I said, it can be to the wall. It does not have to be to the mirror. So you're like talking to yourself or anything. You don't have to do a video journal. Okay. But saying it out loud, just that powerful. So powerful. And if you can't say it all at once, that's okay too. Take it in bite-sized pieces. Okay. So if there's this instant that you remember and you think you can talk about it, tell the wall. Tell the wall that one little incident. Or tell the wall your feelings about that incident. See, talking about it out loud doesn't have to be a chronological story of events. It can be this person, this neighbor did something to me, and this is how I felt. This is what was going on inside my head. I wondered what my mom was thinking, where my mom thought I was. Whatever the case is, you don't always have to just go through and say he did this, he did this, he did this, he did this. That's not the purpose of it, of saying it out loud. The purpose is to give power to your survivalness, okay? And by taking that power, you're taking it away from the perpetrator. Because remember, all perpetrators, all ones that groom, their soul, and even I'll just go and say, because SA as well, it's about power and control. It's not about the sex. It's about power and control over whatever that is that they want. So in an adult on adult situation, it can be romantic, it can be sexual, but it can also be financial. It can be something in the business world. Um, one person gave an example of, say, somebody buddies up to you at work and you know all the ropes of whatever that is. And then you take that and you go open your own business, or, whatever the case is. So it can be more than just as we think about a dating or romantic situation. Most of the time, that's what I'm going to talk about, because we're going to be getting into love bombing and predatory dating. But if somebody has something in one of the other, aspects, you can certainly bring up, home improvement scams, getting a new roof or getting a new, whatever it needs. And say there's been a tornado that whipped through or something. And it's like, oh, I see you got a few shingles missing there. Oh, no, that whole side's going to have to come down, and they spend time talking to the person. And whether it's elderly or whether it's just a single person there, whatever, and they build a little bit of a relationship there, and they find out what that person wants, and they find out where their needs are. And that's how they're able to scam people so effectively, because they get this information and they prey on either your insecurities, whatever vulnerabilities you have in regards to your home, and having it be as safe and secure as possible, or whatever it is. So adult grooming, it's going to follow very closely the steps that we talked about with just basic overall grooming. It's just the context that change. Hi, Izzy. How are you? I've missed you. I've missed all of you people. Oh, hi, Janet. The contractors after the hurricane were predatory. Yeah, I hear that all the time. Anytime there's been a natural disaster, especially people getting the money from their insurance companies, they're not as careful. And there's people flooding in from out of state because there's so much work to be done. You really got to do your due diligence with that. Has it been a week for everybody? My gosh, I think everybody I speak with, it has just been one of those weeks. And I'm going to count my week going Saturday. So Saturday to Saturday. So I'm going to say by Saturday, that's my better week starts. It has to, guys. It just has to. Have a great night, Tammy. So glad you joined us for the time that you did. We look forward to seeing you next time. You are desperate, especially if you don't have a roof on your house. You want to get it rebuilt as soon as possible. You want to be able to save your belongings that are within it. There's just, a whole host of reasons to want to get things done. And especially where you have a contractor who does some of the work, and then you give them, say, the final payment, and they're supposed to come back and do the rest of the work, and they never do. So that can be a real problem. So definitely do your due diligence. Elderly people. Yeah, I would say elderly people are more comfortable with stranger face-to-face contact. Like I notice especially my dad, and I have some friends who would just speak to anybody. Person behind you in the at the restaurant, if they're wearing something interesting, or they have God forbid they should have a baby, then you've just lost my dad for the entire time that baby is there. They're definitely more comfortable with speaking with strangers and then building up that rapport, because that's how you did things before cell phones, before the internet. You speak to everybody, Shannon? Yeah. I had a friend like that, and it literally anywhere you were, that anywhere you were, she's grocery store online, struck up a conversation with everybody. Izzy, your girl has new teeth? Well, great. My brother got new teeth at one point when he was 2. File's been transferred to accountant and your car is running smoothly. Did it almost cost $5,000? I'll tell you, my new transmission about a month and a half ago, it cost me almost $6,000. Out of warranty by 3 months, guys. 3 months. I wanted to cry. We remember a time before cell phones and the internet. Yes, some of us actually do. I think I've said this before, but I was driving with my son, and he was just, oh, you didn't have cell phones growing up, and I'm like, no, they didn't come out really until we were an adult. We kind of had the pager thing, but no, not the cell phones. And he's just like, well, basically, how did you function? And I said, well, you did what you did. You went to the library if you needed to look up some information, actually do a research paper instead of using Chat GDP. And our parents didn't know where we were. He thought about that for a second. He's like, well, I guess there's a good side and a bad side to everything that there is. Well, Izzy, I certainly hope that your week turns around. It was your transmission pads. Oh, goodness gracious. Books. Oh my gosh. Remember books? I still prefer to read a book. That is definitely, I don't know, something about the smell of old pages, the old library smell. I don't know if anybody else has that, but I just think that that's really cool. You came home when the street lights came on. Yep. That was true. Okay, so let's get into adult grooming. And the first one I want to talk to you about just is with any grooming. And I'm speaking to you for you and speaking to your child. Trust your gut. That funny little feeling you get that something's wrong. That's how I explained it to my son when he was much younger. If something feels kind of weird, it probably is. And tell me about it. Get out of that situation and tell me about it. And that was the deal that we made. And so anytime, something happened, if there was a teacher at school or it never really happened to him so much, but I remember him and his friends talking about it one time. I think they were in about 8th grade. And they were talking about it and they go, oh, Mr. So-and-so, yeah, he's handsy with all the girls. They know just to stay away from him. Say what again? That was his last year at that school. And I hope they never hire him at another one. I mean, all you can do is hope. I know, Shannon, me too. There are so many times where I look at it afterwards and go, I had a bad feeling about this. Why didn't I because I was able to convince myself that what I thought wasn't real. So especially if you're being groomed, these predators, they are so good at making you second guess yourself to think your truth is not really the truth. Because as long as they can put just a seed of doubt in you with everything that they're manipulating in your life, that seed of doubt is just enough sometimes to be able to just flip your reality and go, I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. This really isn't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. And how many times do we say things like that to ourselves? Um, so really the first step in the grooming, so I'm kind of bopping all around here today, guys, is identification. Identification of their victim. Who are we after? As an adult, I think there's much less of a I'm targeting this population, unless I'm speaking about, the homeowners who own things, or people in cults who are trying to get you in to their cults. There is more of a one-on-one identification, right? So what I notice online, and take the online dating, is there are people who will ask a whole lot of questions and they won't ever give a whole lot themselves. And they're looking for that information. They're looking for all that information that you can give them. Because right now you're just somebody at the other end of a computer at a keyboard or on your phone. So they've got to flesh out, okay, could this be a person? A, is this a real person? B, is it a real woman or guy, depending on what they're looking for, right? And if it is, then what can I use to get at this person, to get what I want out of them? Um, Perfect example today, and I'll speak about this more on Saturday when we do the predatory dating. But there's a trick that somebody taught me early on when I started online dating, and they said to prove somebody's real. They call it proof of life. To prove that they are real, have them take a photo of themselves according to your instructions. So, whatever you tell them to do, if you tell them to cover their eyes, if you tell them to touch their left ear, whatever the situation is, you want to make it something, though, that they can't just pull from the internet. They can't pull from an Instagram, because a lot of times the fake profiles, that's where they've gotten the pictures from. They've just pulled them from somebody's Instagram or somebody's TikTok or whatever. So you want to make it something that they can't just pull. By doing that, then they're showing that they are the person they say they are. They're representing that, yes, I am that person in that picture. Or if they don't even have a picture, they're saying, okay, well, this is me. And if you were to meet me, this is who you would meet. One of three things are going to happen. They'll say, okay, no problem. They will balk and argue with you and try to talk around in circles with you as to why this should not be, why they don't have to. They're not going to jump through hoops. They're not a monkey. I mean, I think I've heard it all. The other one, they're just going to disappear. I had that happen just this afternoon, actually. Somebody said, hey, can we take this off site and so we can, speak more easily? And I said, sure. I said, however, I will ask you to send me a selfie according to my instructions. Bloop, away that person went. Usually if their profile looks too good to be true, it usually is. So true. We teach kids about stranger danger, but as adults, if someone turns up at your door, you don't ask for ID. It's true. Do you remember the days when somebody would knock on the door and say, hey, can I use your phone? My car broke down a while, a ways back. We'd let them in, no problem. And then there became at night, be a little more cautious because men were getting in that way, or, even deliveries. Here's a pizza. well, I can't take it back. So why don't you just take it then? If it's the wrong place, I'll just have to get a new one from the new place. And there's their in, right? So you have to be very careful when answering the door to strangers. Thankfully, I have two windows that look out on my front porch. So it's easy for me to look and see. Exactly, Shannon. You feel it in your gut and your head goes, no, we can reason this out. We can reason this out. We've got, no. Oh, geez. You had a friend who lost her whole 401k falling for a guy on Words with Friends on the internet. I tell you, I lost some money in a scam, and it's probably one of the low points in my life. I've never told anybody about this. My immediate family knows, and that's it. So consider you guys in a very select company. But I did. And that was really hard coming back from, because I knew I had no one to blame but myself. Absolutely no one to blame but myself. We do stupid things when we aren't in our right minds, don't we? I think we all do. We all have. So in general, if adults, let's just pick romantic. So they've identified the person that they want. They found somebody, they've spoken to them, they found some of their insecurities, they've found what makes them tick a little bit. What would make that person like you? I'm going to say you as in the perpetrator, the groomer, okay? Just so we don't get confused. The second step is going to be to build trust. And keep in mind that these stages or steps, they don't have to happen directly in this order. They can kind of bounce around a little bit. And this can be, within a few hours, or it can take a few months. It depends on what the goal is. What's the person after? If they're after a large chunk of money, like this person's 401k, it's probably going to take a little bit longer. They've probably talked about a lot of things, really got to know each other. Then, could you spare $100 so I can make rent? Or $20 for gas? Something small, something that's kind of insignificant. And then they might up it a little bit more, right? And that's pushing your boundaries. And that's another step on. So they're trying to build this trust with you. But keep in mind, the trust, it's an illusion, because all of it is manipulation. There is no trust. You may trust him or her, but that person does not trust you. And your trust is very misplaced, obviously, in this person. The next thing they're going to try and do is foster dependence in some way, shape, or form. Let's say it's for a job. You could never find another job that's going to treat you this well. You know how competitive this market is. Why would you give away, this opportunity? Just in terms of a person, I know you so much. I know you so well. It's, it's just like nobody else. It's the two of us. We just connect on this unbelievable level. And so through doing things for you, with you, gifts, any of this, all this good stuff, right? The good mask that they have on still. They want to build you up. and they're building that trust, and they're making it comfortable. So when you do have doubts, your brain is going, "Oh, gut, shut up. It's not that big of a deal." You know? See, look, there's other kids here too. It, it's no big deal. Just because I'm here as well, and I'm feeling a little weird. It's okay. There's kids here. I can go in the back with him. That's no big deal, right? Nothing would nothing would ever happen. There's people here. Famous last words. Um, I'm trying to just read my notes as I'm talking with you guys as well. So yeah, they're going to look to fill whatever hole you have. And I've heard this before. I heard it from somebody who was speaking, and I had also heard this as well doing trafficking videos. And it's that pimp, that first person who gets a hold of you, they're going to be whatever you need them to be for you to grow that trust, to grow that dependence. They're going to be a dad if that's what you're looking for. They're going to be a boyfriend if you need one. They're going to be just that older brother, that friend, who you can lean on if that's what they need. If they need shoes, that's what they're going to fill. Any hole that person has that they're going to try and fill. And you look at this and go, "Oh my gosh, they have done so much for me." What they're asking is really not that big of a deal, because the next step is pushing your boundaries. Big red flag when someone doesn't respect your boundaries. And it's easy sometimes, especially when you're talking about in romantic relationships, and if you're talking about in the sexual world, for those boundaries to be pushed, right? I mean, hormones are going nuts, and maybe you like the guy and you don't want to offend him because you like him and you want him to stay there. And okay, maybe I'll just go a little bit farther than I really wanted to on this date. But that's it. And so they're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until they get what they want. And sometimes that push will be all at once, and sometimes they're going to take it in little increments. You'll find, I think, more with the children, the touching on a slower level, the physical interaction, because they need to build that up a lot more, because the child doesn't understand when they get into certain types of touching. They don't understand that it's different. They don't understand that it's weird. They may just feel weird, but they don't know how to say anything. So there may be, some touching of your knee, or, touching of your shoulder, something that's close to a body part, a sexual body part. And if you're comfortable with that, they might try touching you in a different way. And you've got to be really clear on what your own boundaries are. And this ties into the other thing: trust your gut and love yourself. And when I say love yourself, it's really know yourself. Because if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you stand for, if you don't know how you feel on certain things, you're not going to know where to set your boundary. You're not going to know what feels good and what is in line with the values and the mores that you hold. So we all have to really do some soul searching. I had to, especially when I was considering going dating again. Um, First time in dating of forever. I mean, I hadn't even been out with a guy in a romantic situation in 12 years. I chose to raise my son instead. And it was it was an experience. Let's say those first few months were definitely experience. I I was fortunate in that I had 2 3-week relationships back to back with some decent people. It kind of smoothed me into the rest of the world that's out there in the dating pool. Um, I may have to break down and pay for Match.com or something if I'm not desperate yet. And not that going to Match.com makes you desperate or anything. I just am of the firm belief that if I was to delete any dating app I have and was just going to say, "Oh, I'm going to work, focus on my son for the time that he's here, because Lord only knows when he'll take off, decide to take off and go somewhere. Um, and I'm going to work and I'm going to focus on the channel." And that will be the time then I will bump into somebody at the grocery store. Whatever it is always happens when I am least expecting it and when I'm not looking for it. So I don't even know why I started dating in the first place. Maybe I should have just told the universe that I was ready to date and just left it at that. No, I think this past year has been really good. It's been a growing experience. It's been a learning experience. I have learned stuff about myself in regards to where do I put my boundaries? How do I say no and have it be okay with me? And it's the fact that you may lose that guy, but you know what? If he's pushing your boundaries and he's doing those kinds of things, he's not the guy you want. But there's still, I think, this pleaser aspect, especially when you're going on a date. You're trying to please your date, you're trying to be accommodating and be nice and all of that. When it comes to your boundaries, you have to say, nope, this is where it is. And that can be physically, that can be something emotionally. I don't know if you've ever had somebody within the first few meetings be like, "I think I love you." And me is like, "I think you're crazy." Both have things we believe, but I guess they're different. So yeah, I had to really be okay with not having that person like me. I guess is the bottom line. I mean, in terms of how it feels, right? If a person doesn't like you, they don't like you. Possibly. They could just feel nothing towards you, especially if they're a manipulator. Clinging too quickly is creepy. Now try saying that 5 times fast, Shannon. It definitely is. Somebody, and we'll talk about this with the love bombing too. Somebody who is all of a sudden they're there, they want to be there, they want to come over to your house, so they always want you to come over to their house because they live alone. And so they're trying to get you alone. That's part of the secrecy aspect. And I, I say secrecy, but it's really kind of isolation more than secrecy. I'm going to put that so I remember it. Think about it in terms of domestic abuse survivors, right? And the cycle that they go through. So part of the grooming process is going to be getting that person away from friends and family, cutting contact with them. I don't want you talking to that person anymore. I don't want you going over there anymore. Your mom doesn't like me, so let's not do that. Maybe it gets to the point where they take your phone. And that's the ultimate. That's the last step. That's control. Control and power over you, over the situation. If they ever feel like they're losing control of it, that's where they may go back to the beginning, back to this trust and fostering dependence time where they're really nice to you. They may be giving you things or doing things for you. And this would start the cycle over again, say if you're talking about domestic violence victims, as soon as they've hit you, right? the violence, the abuse has happened. Maybe it's just yelling really nasty things, nasty words. Maybe it's not physical violence. But if it's, bad enough, they're going to go back to that. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just so stressed yesterday. I just lost it. I shouldn't have said those things to you. It wasn't about you. It was really about how I felt about me, but I was projecting. And so I was saying these things to you. Here's a diamond ring to make up for it, or whatever they have. Flowers don't work. They die too quickly, guys. Cats, bats, and flowers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I read a long time ago that a woman who used animal object profile pictures are most commonly targeted. I thought being we are insecure. A cat makes me laugh. I want to share that with the world. Absolutely. Share away. Is there a white cat, maybe? I have 2. They're tabbies, and they are never around. Oh, I shouldn't say never. They're rarely around when I'm doing this. I have not found that to be the case, I guess, but I don't have a animal as my avatar. So maybe I'll get a picture of my cats and put that up as my avatar and see what happens. We can all have a little experiment. Hey, Janice, so glad to see you. He's a what? Is he a Maine Coon? How can he be 40 pounds? Hang on one second, guys. Anything. Hey guys, look what I found. I found a Sammy. Sammy is my son's girlfriend, and she is the bomb. We love her definitely. We love her dearly.
Hello.
And she's been so supportive of everything that I've been doing with the channel. And yeah, she's so good to my son, and it's awesome.
Are you guys talking about a dog?
That was a cat.
A 40-pound cat?
Tom, that's exactly what I said. I'm not muted anymore, right? You guys can. Hi, Sammy. It's with an eye, Janet. Kieran met Janet over the weekend.
Enormous bundle of fur. God, imagine carrying around like 10 pounds of fur.
Oh my gosh, that's just insane.
I was just at the dog park with my boss's dogs because he's sick right now, so I took him out.
Okay, good. Well, we were talking about grooming, adult grooming. How guys can groom people, their dates and things like that. So,
or completely not even be the person that is talking behind the screen.
Yeah. I talked a little bit about that there are definitely some tricks of the trade that you can figure out. Moni is in Australia. Janet is in Alberta, Canada.
Canada.
Izzy is in Canada as well.
But
got people everywhere.
Yeah, there's a show on Netflix called The Circle, and it's about like no one knows each other, and they could be a catfish or they could be real. It's crazy because a catfish made it to a final round, and they were like, oh, you never know who you're talking to.
Oh my gosh, that's bonkers.
It literally like shows how you can be a whole different person online.
Yeah,
it's a good show.
Wow. See, my thing is I always make the person take a selfie according to my instructions.
Oh yeah, like not in a peace signs to normal because normally a lot of people do that. I saw one girl who did a spoon.
Oh,
put a spoon on top of your
head.
Put
your spoon. That's good. Yeah, I'd say 4 fingers because who does this in a picture, right?
People do this, but not this.
Yeah. Generally, aren't they trying to splay it a little bit?
This is a B in sign language. Outside.
Yeah, so but nobody, if you say put up 4 fingers, nobody goes like this and puts them all together, right? You know, they're like this or something.
Imagine posing for a picture like this.
Ooh, how you doing?
But
Cats and Bats is in California as well.
Just wanted you to know that I was here, so you don't just hear random walking and you're like, okay, Kieran's supposed to be at work.
Exactly, I'm panicking.
Yeah, no, it's just me.
Alrighty.
But yeah, my boss's mom made me food. They're Chinese, so I got some nice Chinese barbecue chicken and rice.
Yum.
I was like, oh, I mean, I didn't need this for taking dogs out, but I'll take it.
Exactly, good Chinese food. Yum, yum, yum. Awesome.
But yeah, I just wanted to let you know I'm here.
Okay.
And I'll probably be leaving soon with Kimberly. But just so you hear, because I know you'll probably hear the walking. You'll be like, who is in my house? It's me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Live.
Thank you. Yes, Izzy, this is very, very, very important that everybody knows that no matter what happens to you, how it happened, it's not your fault. Okay? This whole thing has been crafted very carefully. It's been engineered. These people are excellent manipulators. This is what they spend their lives doing. I have no doubt that in other aspects of their lives, they're just as manipulative. And they want to get you to that point of they've built you up and then they're going to break you down and then build you back up again according to what they want. How they want you to look, how they want you to act, how they want you to be, whatever the situation is, whatever they want out of you. So your mind gets so warped if you don't know your boundaries, if you don't know who you are. It's a lot easier for those boundaries to get crossed, for you flip-flop yourself in your own brain and think, well, is that what I really believe? Is that really that important? So the definite questions that you have to ask yourself, they want to keep you complacent and compliant. That's their goal. I have to wonder if they got somebody who was absolutely 100% complacent and compliant, and I'm not speaking about the drive safely, Janet. I'm not talking about the violent perpetrator who is going to find fault no matter what. You could be the most perfect person in the universe and they're still going to find fault. And I think most manipulators do, because they have to have fault. They have to find something that is wrong with you in order to make you distrust your own self and, go the reliance, the dependency, I'm here for all your needs. Yeah, it's very important. Parents do this nowadays to make sure that their kids are with who they say they are. Yeah, because it could be anything. It's nice when you have, a FaceTime or something like that you could just go, okay, where are you supposed to be? Here, I can see the background of what it is. Yeah, I know you're there. You're not doing it at a different time. And you just recorded this and you're sending it to me. No, they have to do it live with me. Absolutely. Very specific request for a picture. Absolutely. Definitely, Izzy. Oh, man. Narcissist X tried to isolate me from everyone in our community, planting seeds of distrust in my mind. Absolutely 100% typical. Yep. Because if you don't have a support network, if you don't have other people that you can rely on, that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can say, is this normal? Is this right? Am I losing my mind? When you don't have those ties, they become your world. And so what they say is the truth. At least that's what they would like it to be. And they'll do everything in their power to manipulate you to get you to come around to the way that they want you to be. So again, it goes back to know yourself. Really take an inventory of what you believe, of where your physical boundaries are, especially if you're going to enter the dating world. Especially if you're going to enter the dating world. Know what you're prepared for in different circumstances. If you have set and, cut and dried rules, no sex till the third date. I don't kiss until the second date. Whatever your rules are, if those are your rules, then those are your rules and stick to them. Because it gets messy in your mind if on one date you say, no, I really like him, I'm going to kiss him now. And on another date, you're like, 2 dates is long enough, right? I want to sleep with him. When you are constantly changing those boundaries, then you yourself don't know you. So it's just like a parent putting down rules with their child. You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent within yourself. That's not to say that you can't ever be flexible, that you can't change your boundaries. Of course you can. But if you're constantly changing them about the same thing, it becomes really difficult to not allow somebody to push a boundary that you're constantly moving anyway, if that makes sense. Yeah, this is 100% the point, Annie. If you'd only shared the things he was saying and doing with other people in your life, they could have told you how many red flags there were. And that's why they isolate. And that's why it's so important that we do this and that we are part of any of the communities that you are, any of the other lives. If you don't have a solid support system at home, either in your home or in your hometown, or somewhere that is not too terribly far, so that you can actually be able to get a hold of that person, reach out, start reaching out and building your network of people, because that's the wonderful thing about each of these different lives that you may be a part of, is everybody has gone through something, whether it's addiction, whether it's SA, whether it's a narcissistic ex. A lot of us seem to have had those. I realized as I was doing this and I was thinking about the domestic violence cycle and how it goes, and it was so similar. It just struck me all of a sudden. It was so similar to what would happen when my ex would promise not to drink again. Promise not to drink. I won't do it. I promise. And say all the right things. And you wouldn't see him with a drink in his hand. And then maybe he's drinking one in front of you. And then maybe it's just on the weekends. And then maybe it's just, so they keep going till they can be basically doing whatever they want in front of you, or at their own house, whatever the circumstances. It's very similar with that. And I imagine it would be with anybody who has an addiction. Moni, you were a secret. This person didn't want to let the boat, like the boat, know his business. Didn't ask for money, but would chase me and contact me by phone. Looking back, I'd give him my mobile number to him, which had been given to help other women. Oh, yeah. That's rough. Moni, I hope, has the contact stopped? Because it's really important. If you have told him to stop contacting you and he's continued to try and contact you through various means, it might be time to step it up, particularly if he comes on the lifeboat. He would need to be blocked and removed from that community, which can definitely happen. You just need to share with the right people in order to do that. If you want to talk at all, Moni, more about this, about the situation, about what's going on with this, if this still is something that's out there, feel free to email me, survivingtogether@sass@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to talk to you about that. I'm concerned for you. Definitely want to make sure that this isn't something that is continuing to be bothersome towards you. The only good thing about some of this is that if they only know you electronically, it's easier to block electronically. And if they live in the United States and you're in Australia, chances of them hopping on a flight, pretty small. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some people that would still do it, which is mind-boggling to me. And from the stance that you contact people, or people will contact you, and you'd be like, well, are you willing to drive here? Because first meet's always in my town. Always. I don't care where you live. It's in my town. And that's for safety reasons. I'm not going to go to somebody else's hometown, to their house, meet you at a hotel halfway in between. Do I have stupid written on my forehead? No. Maybe a victim with, a bullseye from my youth, but not stupid. We have to be so, so careful. And that's why I do want to speak about love bombing and predatory dating. Mona, you may have been looking for a person in your life, but I sincerely doubt you were looking for what you've got, or what you got, I should say. Please tell me if this is still an issue. I'm going to be checking. I'm going to be checking in on you when I see you. So know that. Okay. Well, that's just about all that I have for you guys here. Somebody did come up with an analogy that I think can be really useful for kids. And she imagined yourself, take whatever self part you want, whether that's your emotions, your brain, or your physicalness, your body, and imagine that's an orange. And somebody wants that orange. Well, who are they going to go for? They're going to go for the smaller person who can't grip their orange. They're going to go for the person who doesn't know how valuable that orange is. They're going to go for that person who they can talk up and tell them how wonderful they are. And look at these other people. They've given me their orange for free. So you should give me your orange. So just talking about it in in that type of context and use whatever you want as a fill-in for your body, for your emotions. But particularly if we're talking about education against SA, I think that could be a really good way to speak about it, because it's something outside of a person that a lot of times they can make more sense of that than that as a kid that they can for them, because it's just not, they may not even really understand what the orange is, but they know they have an orange and they should not give that orange away. And if somebody tries to just take that orange, then they got a problem and they need to, contact mom or dad or whoever authority figure is around. If they get weird feelings from somebody, their orange is their orange and they need to keep their orange. It's all fine. He hates you, so it's all okay. Well, that's probably the best outcome you could have hoped for. He hates you and leave you alone, right? Obviously not the type of person you wanted in your life to begin with. But we'll be speaking a lot about the love bombing, the predatory dating, and I will find the link to this one guy's channel. He started it for his nieces, for there to be videos when they came of age. I don't know how old they were when he started it, but so they would have information on how to be savvy about dating, about guys, about marriage, about sex, about, all of this stuff. And saying it also from a guy's perspective, which was really helpful. Some of the things that he had to say in regards to the dating situations, what you may be thinking, what he may be thinking, nothing was earth-shattering, but it was an interesting note to take. And one of the things that struck me, and we'll maybe take a poll next time, sex after the first date. Is it okay? Is it not okay? Some people have feelings one way or the other. And what's funny is guys may tell you that they don't care because they want it, but they actually do care. And so then you're not girlfriend material. So it can be a real catch-22, right? For a girl, because there still is that stigma. You give it up too soon and you're not the girlfriend material. You're just the sleep with material. I have a problem with that. I have a real problem with that. Just that people put you in that type of box. That's just, Shannon, you tend to overshare. You're extremely cautious because you've been burned so many times. I am slowly learning to share less. It's really kind of a fine line when you're online dating, right? Because you don't want to lie about everything. You don't want to just make it all up. But on the same token, I don't want to reveal everything about myself and things that maybe I'd reveal on a first date speaking to somebody face to face, or I might have said on the phone. But when you're just talking, especially before you've gotten confirmation of proof of life, yeah, I'm being much more careful about announcing that I'm a single mom, for one. I think that seems to attract a certain type of person. And that's the type of person I don't need. Cats, bats, and flowers, you are 100% correct. Children need to be taught that it's okay to say no. Hugs are given, not demanded, even when it's grandma. I had this exact same situation with my son. And he did not want to, it was hug somebody. I can't remember who it was. Oh, I think it was kisses. He didn't want to do kisses anymore from his relatives. And us with they're grown with, no, that's your grandma or that's your whatever. No, you give her a hug and a kiss. I mean, you don't, but yet we're preaching bodily autonomy. So how do those two coincide? They really don't. And I actually paused and I looked at this 8-year-old and said, "You're right. You're 100% right. You don't want to kiss grandma and grandpa anymore. You don't have to kiss them." I said, "But please find it in your heart to hug them, because that would destroy them." I didn't say it quite like that, but I did say, "Please find it in your heart to give them a hug." Yeah, date rape's a real thing. It it didn't used to be, because it was if you were even slightly in that position, it was because you wanted to be in that position. So it was your fault. You were tempting them too much. All those, you dressed too promiscuously, whatever the situation is in regards to that. And then in the 90s, maybe even the 80s, the whole date rape thing kind of started taking root, especially in the colleges, and got filtered down and taking hold, and people understood this more. But I certainly did feel when I was younger, partly because you're dealing with somebody younger, that this boundary on the first date was pushed. And I'm so sorry, Shannon. You know that it's not your fault. You know that there was nothing that you did. There's no signal that you gave. There is no word that you said that made him do this, or her. I don't. Oh, he didn't care, so it was a guy. Not your fault. 100% not. I'm so sorry. Yeah, sex in cars has never really been my thing. It's too cramped, it's too crowded, my legs are too long. I mean, you name it, and it's just not gonna work, right? For me, at least in a car. And I told this to this person, and yet he's still pushing and still pushing and still pushing to do something sexual in the car. And finally, I was just like, dude, this is my boundary. You're either going to respect it or you're not. I'd already made a decision at that point, because I'd already told him so many times that I wasn't going to see him again. But I really needed him to understand, is it the alcohol, or are you just that big of a dick? As it turns out, he was just an ass. Yeah. I was listening to some statistics, and they were saying on average a child has to report 5 to 10 times to be believed. Say what? Once. That's all it should take. Once. Believe your children. I mean, unless you've got a, mass hysteria, this, childcare essay, pandemic going on in your city, and your child comes home and says, "Me too," you might need to be a little more careful in the interviewing and making sure that this is something that, happened and what did happen, and piecing it out. But only in that type of situation would I think that you would have any reason to think that maybe something didn't happen. Because most 6-year-olds are not going to be coming up to you and going, "Grandpa put his hand down my pants for funsies." They're just not. And if the 12-year-old comes home from batting practice and says that, coach was constantly hugging me, but he was like, rubbing his front against me as he was hugging me all the time. And it's just gross. It's uncomfortable. You need to believe that. And you need to take it seriously, because that's where we as parents fall down, because we don't want to believe it. Not the librarian that everybody loves, not the Little League coach, not the Boy Scout leader, not the priest, not just the old guy down the street. Look at him. He teeters. How could he possibly? Well, you know how he could possibly? Because he's been doing it all his life, most likely. There's lots of numbers thrown around, so I'll give you the range that I've heard. It said that a perpetrator will have committed SA 50 to 200 times before they're caught. Let that sink in. Even on the low number, I am horrified. And why? Because we're not reporting it. Why aren't we reporting it? Because we're too scared to tell. And that's why, as parents, we have got to believe our children. And you've got to give them the tools to be able to come to you and say, I think this is a wrong thing. I got a weird feeling about this. Or, he tried to touch me where my bikini normally is. Because if, they do that. All of it is so, so important. Because as this information gets disseminated, the hope is that those kids who don't have the parents who are telling them this, that maybe their friends will. Maybe the information will get, set down in a classroom eventually, or at the Bible study, or whatever the situation is. Hopefully the information will get out there, even if the parents aren't doing their job. Because what you would hate is for that person to put their trust in the wrong person, right? And be groomed. And maybe they're not looking for it because it's somebody that they trust completely, who maybe they've known for years before anything's even attempted. And people are like, how can they wait like that? Well, more than likely, you're not in their age range. If you're 6 and they like them on that tweener side, that 10, 11, 12, right in there, they gotta wait. You're too young. They'll find other victims. I guarantee you 100%. You're right, Izzy. And even when they're not caught, even when they're caught, they're not put in jail. And the victims have to be re-traumatized when they're testifying in court. And it can be humiliating for some people. Especially, I got to give it to victims who true survivors, the people that have been testifying in trials, say 20 years ago, knowing what they were up against, knowing what was probably going to be brought out, their entire sexual history. This is before rape shield laws that protected your sexual history from coming in is relevant, because it's not relevant at all. What you're wearing, how you acted, none of it's relevant to the event that happened. Even if you didn't say no. Even if you just froze and said nothing. It's still not your fault. You still didn't ask for it. And I got to give credit to credit is due to those people who really, paved the way for some of the legislation that ended up coming through. Yes, Mary. Just like your uncle, it starts with this, it starts with that, little bits. Cats, Bats, and Flowers says, I work with 9 to 12-year-olds. One of my responsibilities is to teach them personal safety. I tell them that if a person A doesn't believe them, tell person B, C, D, E until someone listens. Exactly. You keep telling until someone believes you. And if you got to go through 50 people, go through 50 people. But it should not take them that. These perpetrators should not be allowed the freedom to essay our children, to essay people. Right now, I'm just talking about as a parent. If we don't talk about it, if the kids don't report it, the adults don't report it, by telling someone, by trying to get this guy off the streets, it's just going to keep happening. It's one of my biggest regrets that I wasn't able to prosecute one of my offenders, because I was too scared of what my parents would think, that I had done something wrong, that I had brought this about myself somehow. Because I don't know if you were a kid, did you ever come home and say, so-and-so's mom slapped my wrists or something, I don't know, or spanked me, and be like, well, what did you do wrong? Because the assumption is that that person was disciplining you, because back in the day, other people's parents disciplined you. Now the thought is horrifying. I would never lay a hand on anybody else's kid. Yes, Moni. And one of the podcasts I was listening to was speaking about this, and I really don't think we can reiterate it more often enough. We did our kids a real disservice with the stranger danger. They don't like the white econo vans. They're not going to go looking for puppies. And if you try and give them candy, they're probably not going to say yes. But 95%, it varies depending on the statistics that you listen to and where you are in the world, but it's always in the 90s. Always in the 90s, that from what I've heard. And that's mainly going to be Europe, the US, Western Europe, I should say, the US, Canada, and Australia. I don't know if some of the other countries have put out statistics. That'd be an interesting thing to kind of do a world statistics dive. That would be some serious research. That would be interesting to see where the numbers are worldwide. But for all of us guys, in the 90s, that we know this person, that they're connected to our family somehow. They're either in the family, they're a relative of just outside the nuclear family, or they have some relationship to the family already established, like the baseball coach or the priest or all of those people. Because the predators, they're going to get jobs, right, that give them the biggest access to the group of kids that they like. Fact. Why not? I want to be a scout leader of 8 to 12-year-old boys. Or the 13 to 16-year-old, please. Just those. Right? It's like lambs to the slaughter. Just laying them all out for there. Yeah, there's this whole series, I think, that I'm going to be doing on child essay. And the reason being is because the statistics coming out about the number of incidents of child on child are alarming, because they're going up, 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 up. Now, one, it can be because the reporting is getting better. You kind of hope so. But two, the prevalence of online porn, of it just being so easy, click, you're there. Talking to your phone, you're there. So your 8-year-old can pull it up right there on their phone. And boom. I was never under an illusion that when my kid wasn't with me, he wasn't going to get onto some site that I really didn't want him looking at. But what I needed him to understand then was what that was. That this is acting. This is not how things always go. Even the ones that say amateur. They're mostly putting on fronts. And trying to talk to him about it, and talk to him about porn and the porn industry. And, that even some of the porn that they can be watching could be from people being SA'd. They're drugged. So that look on their face that some people take to be rapture is actually just, you're out of your mind. So you're re-victimizing that person by watching that video. And those are hard conversations to have. But yes, you're most often it is somebody you know. And somebody you trust to some degree, right? Because that's part of the grooming process. Unless it literally is somebody who's just grabbed you, right? There's generally some sort of grooming process that's gone on, even if it's just through that one date. If you look back, you probably could see some of the grooming that they were reaching out to you, testing boundaries, trying to figure out where you might have a soft spot, all of those things that we talked about. Thank you, Janet. Thank you. Yeah, Shannon. The first time I did was a real shocker. It shook me. It really shook me. I actually turned it on again to see, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? And, and then I turned it off. I was sick to my stomach because I had listened to some of these women's stories and how some of these videos had come about. And to be seeing evidence of that, at least what seemed like it to me, It was horrifying. It was heart-wrenching. I just think I just want to reach through the screen and pull this girl out. Because usually it is, young girls. I say young girls, you know, 18, 19, 20, 21. You're all so young. No worries, Misha. Tech issues or not, you're still part of us, and we know you're here. Janet, I think a lot of us have child-on-child stories. Even if we also had some adult-on-child or adult-adult. And the prevalence, where they found the incidences growing so much, are teens on kids. And I think that is also why they're concerned about the porn aspect, is given the age of the perpetrators. And yes, the women, but girls in particular, the younger generation, again, the teens type of thing. Part of me almost wonders, is it just it's a way to experiment, it's a way to explore, it's a way to see how these things work? But yet, there's definitely old enough to understand that this is another human being that you are violating, and that's not okay. When kids aren't taught the value of themselves or the value of other people, they're not going to respect that. They're not going to think about their emotions. They are meaning the other person's emotions and how they might feel about the situation. Yeah, this is autoerotic asphyxiation, which is the big fancy official word for strangle me while I'm orgasming, please. I don't get it. I can see why some people may. But I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say most of the people who have never been abused. Because that is that's like the ultimate in control, right? I mean, your life literally is in that person's hands. And if they squeeze too much for too long, dead, brain damaged. I mean, and I bruised like a peach. So my gosh, somebody put their hand around me and I'd have handprints everywhere, and it wouldn't be a good look. People would just be like, oh my God, what happened to you? And then I'd have to explain that I like it. And not happening with me. This is so typical. Janet had some different stranger essays, or a different, yes, stranger. My adult essay was 2 different stranger attacks. And that's where we get feeling like we have a target on our head, or that, somehow we're labeled in neon that only perpetrators can see. Victim here. And you go, why? But the re-victimization is a real thing. And there are stats on it. But again, those stats are only as good as the reporting is. So that person had to have reported multiple times for them to even know those stats. And if it's taking them 50 times on the low end to be believed, I mean, what kid's going to give up after 3? I know, I'm sure that person who didn't believe you didn't just say, no, I don't think you're telling the truth. I'm sure they had other things to say, which is going to make you then question, well, did this happen the way I think it happened? Or is it a big deal? Am I making too much out of this? So, what concerns me is not only do they have to go through so many people to be believed, but everything that they're getting told by those people who aren't believing them and maybe are saying things, to the child. And what did you do? Make it into their fault somehow. Because our minister would never do that. You must have been mistaken. They're definitely, I will say this, the soft core BDSM, I think, is becoming a lot more mainstream. It's not vanilla by any stretch of the imagination, but it would not be unheard of or even weird if somebody says, yeah, I've been tied up before. I've been handcuffed, blindfolded, spanked, maybe hit with a paddle, depending on how much you like pain. I've lived with chronic pain, and honey, I don't need any more. I don't need any more. All those implements that you can inflict pain with, I got no need for any of them, I tell you. And then the choking, last all. It is becoming more commonplace. I think partly as people explore their world, they explore their sexual world, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing inherently wrong with exploring your sexual boundaries. It's when that person isn't respecting your sexual boundaries. There is a risk of, I think, things getting to some point, and if that becomes normal, well, again, it's about boundaries. It's that person who isn't respecting your boundary, and if you say no to X, Y, or Z, and they want to do it anyway, that's a problem. That's an issue. And that's not somebody I want to be with, especially when you're talking about my sexual boundaries. You better respect them. Because if you don't, I'm out of there. Plain and simple. 100%. I have not lived this many years on this earth, raised a child to be made to do something that I don't want to do. Nuh-uh, not happening. Seriously, not if I can help it. Now, is there a risk that you date someone for a little bit and maybe some sexual things happen, but you did not want to sleep with them, but then they force you? Yeah, there's always a risk. But all you can do is hope and feel in your gut that you've made an okay choice. And if they've respected any other boundaries that you've had to say, whether it's sexual or otherwise, then it gives you kind of a good judgment as to what's going to happen. That they're going to respect any boundaries that you have sexually. Oh, Janet, you got a conviction on one. I did not know that. Congrats. Congrats. Yeah, hypervigilance, especially when it's, a snatch and grab, which it's just the percentage of those are so small. I think you got all of Canada's, Janet. You actually told a mate who's on a dating site and have told him to color his little granddaughter's face. Oh, to blur her out. Yes, absolutely. 100%. My son has not appeared on my show, and he will not. He's not 18 yet. You met his girlfriend. She is 18. She's almost 19. And that's why I left it up to her. If she wanted to show her face on the live, she could show her face on the live. If she didn't, she could just stand there and talk to me off to the side. But I have a real problem with people having their kids on Instagram or, their other sites before they're able to really make decisions about that. I think we've got to be protective of our kids. And we did kind of come from, well, we didn't really post anything because we didn't have anything to post on, right? MySpace. But as we had so many different places to post our pictures and to be able to share them with the world, I think we've gotten to the overshare on that. Overshare on what your dinner is, but not on your 2 grandkids that you went swimming with. But at least blur their faces. Protect their identities. It's really, really. Yeah, we won't get into John Benet Ramsey's situation because there's so many people that believe this, that, or the other thing. Zenwin, welcome, welcome, welcome. We were just kind of wrapping up for the day and just chatting a little bit about, adult grooming and dating online a little bit, but that's going to be Saturday is mainly going to be talking about love bombing and predatory dating and things to look out for. And if it's not pertinent to you, maybe it will be to a daughter or a niece or a cousin or your nephew, somebody, right? That maybe they get the information from you because they wouldn't have gotten it anywhere else. Share this information, guys, especially these grooming videos. If you think I did an okay enough job explaining them, please share them. Leave a comment. If you want to see these shortened down to, say, a less than 15-minute video so that you can share that, I'd be happy to do that. It is so, so important that we talk about this and that we get the word out. The more kids can disclose and be believed before they get to that 50th person, the better off we'll be. Think of how many potential victims that predator maybe wouldn't get to because they got caught earlier. And even if there isn't a conviction, even if they don't go to jail, you've at least disrupted them for a while. And a lot of times, communities can make it very uncomfortable for that person to be there. And especially if somebody has the wherewithal to follow that person if they move somewhere and say, hey, listen, this is what's up with this guy. You might want to just, be aware. We don't want to be so scared that we're not friendly. But then again, we can't be over accommodating and let our boundaries be pushed. So there's just a line that you have to walk. And I think when we started getting more and more on this in terms of, oh, it's not stranger danger, it's people that you know. I saw a real retraction in just everyday friendliness. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but I definitely have. Maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe it's just the people I happen to run into. Maybe they're just all having bad days. I don't know, but I just see that. I see that more. Yep. Review what instructions to give proof of life. Very important. If you're going to be online, you definitely did. Janet, I love you, girl. Annie, Moni, Cats and Bats, Shannon, Zenwin, anybody who is cosmic, anybody who is lurking but is not actively in the chat right now. I care so much for each and every one of you. Whether you're an essay survivor or whether you're a trauma survivor of some other sort, trauma's trauma. And ultimately, we come to the same point and we get it and we understand. And I am on a crusade to get it to be where the stats are not a child has to disclose 50 to 200 times before they're believed. Even if that stat was 10, I find that unconscionable. And that a perpetrator could offend nearly 200 times before ever getting caught. That's mind-boggling. Now, that doesn't have to be 200 different kids, but we're talking about 200 acts. If I live in a world where my grandchildren, or at least that generation, if I don't have any, is looking at stats in the single digits of how many times it takes to be believed, I'll feel we made some headway. I love you guys. We're all survivors here. Truly, truly, truly surviving together. Never alone here. Guys, you're never alone. And now with the ripples, you've got just opportunities to be with people left and right and all day. So use it. If you need it, use it. And there's always email and Discord servers. This is where I'm stuck, Shannon. It may be hard to get convictions, but how can people just not believe? It Izzy votes for cat videos and hot cocoa afterwards. I second the motion. You can start with my cats. Annie, best to you. Oh, nice. So my others keeper and blessed to crochet are going to be on the ripples talking about caregiving and multiple sclerosis tomorrow, sometime tomorrow. I don't have a time. But you can, I'm sure, get a hold of either My Other's Keeper or Blessed to Crochet and find out what time that's at. I know that My Other's Keeper usually Thursdays usually goes on, I think it's 7 or 6:30, somewhere in there. So my guess is probably during her spot. Yeah. It's closer for you, I think, than it is for me, Janet, to get to Izzy. I don't know. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you for putting the wind back in my sails in regards to this. I really do look forward to chatting with you and sharing the space and hearing your stories and just going through this journey with you. If there's anything I can do to help and you need to get a hold of me, please email me, survivingtogether@gmail.com, because we are a little sassy here. And Blessed Crochet says 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. boat time. So 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern is when they will be going on. So that is wonderful. So check them out tomorrow evening if you guys are around. Shannon, you're welcome. Zen one, Blessed Crochet, Moni, Janet, anybody else I missed that are left, and anyone lurking, thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, you are worthy, you are valuable, and most importantly, you are loved. So, hugs and kisses for now. Bye. Yeah, you're on your own, Moni, and getting those to Australian time. Sorry. Okay. Bye, guys. You're welcome, Izzy.